What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box, and this is Assetto Corsa, where today we're going to be talking about the newly released Dream Pack 2 DLC, which currently will set you back about $8, which is a special introductory offer. Here in a few days it'll go up to $10. For your $10, you get one new laser scan circuit. That would be Barcelona, Catalunya, Montmeló, whatever you call that place that hosts the Formula 1 Spanish Grand Prix, as well as the MotoGP race, as well as 7 cars in 9 different versions, because there are 2 cars that have 2 versions but are the same car but are slightly different. So that's what you get for your money. So let's start off with the circuit, Barcelona. This is the home of the Formula 1 Spanish Grand Prix, as well as the MotoGP Spanish Grand Prix, and it's pretty good, It's a laser scan for utmost accuracy. The artwork is pretty well done, and up there with the standards that Kuno set for themselves with Spa, which I think is the best looking track in the game currently. It's a really high quality track. You know, it's fun to drive. It's not necessarily the most exciting circuit. It does have kind of a mixed mash of everything, as modern circuits tend to. However, I do find myself enjoying it a bit more because it does add another, high caliber international circuit to Assetto Corsa with top level quality. That's not Spa or Silverstone that I've already played to death, or alternatively the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, which just sucks in general. So I like this circuit. It's a good addition. Not necessarily my favorite circuit, but definitely an appreciated addition, and it's definitely well done within this game. This circuit comes with 2 layouts, the Grand Prix layout, which is used by Formula 1, as well as the Moto layout, which is used by MotoGP, which is basically the classic version of the course before they added that stupid chicane at the end of the circuit, as well as the reprofiling of the hairpin about 3/4 of the way through the lap. You're going to want to drive the Moto circuit, because the Moto circuit is the better version of the circuit without a doubt. So yeah, that's all I need to say about the circuit. So there you go. On to the cars. We're going to be starting with my least favorite car in this DLC package, which would have to be the Lamborghini Huracan GT3. I just don't really particularly care for anything about this car. I just don't. I'm not a fan of the way it looks, not a fan of the way the car drives. It has a lot of understeer. It's just not very exciting. I could probably work on the setup to get this car to drive more to my liking. However, I just don't see any reason to, because I really don't care for the car in the first place, and that's more or less that. Although I do know a lot of people really do like the Lamborghini Huracan GT3, so hey, it's your cup of tea, not mine. There you go. Next up on my list would be the Lamborghini Countach, because I'm sorry, I don't have a problem with this car. I actually like driving this car, except for the fact that it has nothing to race with, as well as it's not a car that I particularly really care for. I don't have that attraction that I'm sure a lot of people do, where this is a car that, oh my god, that's my childhood, or anything like that. So yeah, I will say, it's not as bad to drive or as difficult to drive as you might be thinking, because this car is literally the size of a house. I mean, it is about 20 feet wide, it's about 50 feet long, it weighs about 70,000 tons, and it only has about 500 horsepower through a 5-speed transmission geared to do about 185 miles an hour. So it's probably a lot less scary than what you want to think. Although I will give it credit, because the cockpit definitely reminds me of a 747. So it's got that going for it. List is the Audi R8 LMS Ultra GT3 car. It's worth noting that this is the 2014 specification of the R8 GT3, not the new 2015 Stormtrooper mobile that is the 2015 R8 GT3. I can't say I don't like it, because I do like it. It's actually probably one of my preferred true GT3 cars. However, within this package and within Assetto Corsa in general, that kind of ends up being very middle of the road, because it's just the R8 GT3. Some people will like this car and it'll make their day. There's nothing particularly bad about this. It's actually probably one of the more exciting GT3 cars to drive. But, yeah, there you go. That's what I think about it. Next up, we come to the Ruf RT12 R, which is the first of the two cars available with two different versions in this game. There is the rear-wheel drive version that you see on screen, as well as the all-wheel drive version. Obviously, the difference is one is rear-wheel drive, one is all-wheel drive, and all the extra weights, as well as the fact that they have two different bumpers, but I don't know if that really actually matters for anything. What you see on screen, though, is the rear-wheel drive version. It's also the version I prefer. However, I'm lumping them together for the sake of keeping this video somewhat timely. And man, I have to say this. There's a couple of things I'd like to say about this car. First of all, I like it. It's fun. Next up, it has no brakes. The brakes on this thing seem particularly ineffective for some reason. I don't quite understand why, but yeah, it is. I would really like this car a heck of a lot more if it had adjustable boost, because 700 horsepower in a rear-wheel drive, a rear-engine car is pretty much overkill. And next up, but man, when this thing comes out of the corner with that rear-engine placement, it goes, and it goes like stink. Okay, when you get this thing hooked up, launched out of a corner, my goodness, is it fun. My goodness, is it fun. And that's why it ends up here on this list, because I hate the brakes. But man, everything else about this car, I like. I like everything but the brakes. Seriously. Next up is the Scuderia Cameron Glickenhaus SCG 003C. That is a name even McLaren will never top. It's just terrible. But anyways, this car is basically a GT3 car, except for the fact it's not a GT3 car technically because it lacks GT3 homologation, but otherwise it is a GT3 car. And why does it end up on this list at this place? Because this has become my favorite GT3 car within Assetto Corsa, because for one, I like the way it looks, and for two, I actually kind of like the way it drives. It's a little bit more active than most of the other GT3 cars within Assetto Corsa, and plus, it actually is one of the better sounding cars in the game, although it's not necessarily good sounding, but it sounds more realistic to what this car actually is. Although I must point out, somebody really needs to get these guys some WD-40 because they got a bad case of the squeaks in this car. But otherwise, I have to say I really like it. And plus it's got a mouth on it, and mouths on race cars and shark fins and everything like that always makes them cooler. So yeah, this is just one seriously cool looking automobile, I have to say. Next up on this list is the BMW M4. Because it's not an M3, because it's got 2 doors, guys. Thanks, BMW. Anyways, this is the second of the 2 cars that come with 2 different versions of the same car. There is the standard M4, and then there is the Akrapovic edition, which is the same thing, just with a different exhaust system, so it gives you a different sound, but it still sounds like a Assetto Corsa. Really, all you need to know, and why this car ends up on this list at this point, is this thing is an absolute drift monster in disguise. Turn off the traction control and just go sideways like you've never gone sideways before. I mean, this thing is more happy going sideways than it is not going sideways. It's freakish how much this car wants to go sideways, as well as how happy it is to go sideways. It's just like, ja, go sideways we shall. Yeah. Seriously, just slide all over the place. It's just fun. It's just fun, okay? That leaves just one car left on this list, and it is the car we will be driving here shortly, the Ford GT40 Mark I. This is pretty much a predetermined outcome. Not gonna lie, I think most people knew that. I think most people treated this DLC the same as well. Yeah. Now, it's worth pointing out specifically this is the Mark I because there's a couple of different GT40 versions. I just kind of want to brief you on that quickly. First of all, there was the Mark I, which was essentially the original GT40. That's the car that ended up winning Le Mans in 1968 and 1969 after a rule change made the Mark II and Mark IV versions, which had won in 1966 and 67 respectively, obsolete, illegal because their engine was too large. Those 66 and 67 cars had a 427 cubic inch V8, which is a larger engine than the 289 or 302 that was featured in the Mark Is. Also, the Mark II and the Mark IV had 4-speed transmissions, whereas the Mark I had a 5-speed transmission. Of course, being a smaller engine, it's also lighter weight, which means that this car's better balanced. 5-speed transmission, it's just overall a better driving car for anywhere that isn't Le Mans. So let's go ahead and drive it. Alrighty, so we fired up the old Nürburgring Nordschleife. Today we got a old track grip setting because more sideways, more fun. Less grip, more fun, yeah. And yeah, we're going to be, well, let's just go. This is all pretty self-explanatory, isn't it? We do have a pretty hefty fuel load on board, I think 90 liters, if I remember correctly. This car does take up to 140 liters of fuel, though. Because 60s GT racing was awesome. That's why. Now, I have two gripes with this car, and both of them are pretty minor. They're really griping. First up, the sound. Okay, this is by far not even close to the worst sound we've heard on an official car from Kunos. However, at the same time, we also know that several mod cars actually sound pretty dang good. So, honestly, it could be better. It's not the worst, but it could be better, in my opinion. Although, I'll go ahead and shut up here and let you guys be the judge. Alrighty. It's not the worst sound. It's tolerable. Though I do think we could have better. But anyways, the second gripe is, in my opinion, much more important. Not gonna lie. This car has no competition. And I don't mean this car is so much better than everything. I mean this car literally has no competition. Which, in a game that likes to go ahead and point out the fact that it has a Ferrari license, where's the competition? Come on. I mean, it is one of the greatest rivalries ever within sports car racing. The GT40 is a rolling embodiment of a middle finger. I mean, it really is. It is nothing more than that. And to not have that competition, to not have one of those Ferraris from the same time span, just kind of feels like we're missing out. We need something painted red, something with a V12 in it, and then we're good to go. Then we're good to go. I mean, seriously, how we ended up with the GT40 and Assetto Corsa before even a 60s Ferrari GT car of any kind, which, come on, that's like a no-brainer instant win, is kind of beyond me. Kind of puzzling, that one, but maybe we'll see that in the future. I hope we do. I really, really hope we do. But otherwise, man, this car is just a buckload of fun. You know, here on the lower grip track settings. But even if you turn it up to like the fast setting, which is the second grippiest setting, it's still so much fun because it has that, you know, that old historic car feel. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily feel as old as what it actually is because it's not a piece of crap. let's put it that way. Oh no, I broke the gearbox. Be thankful if that's the only thing to break. Just so much fun. It's slippy, it's slidey, but at the same time, it's grippy. It's got big meaty tires. Tons of grip, but not really tons of grip. Although I do have to say, I do wonder what would have become of this car if it was the Mark II version, which had the larger engine in it. But that said, I will not be complaining about that anytime soon. So let's see what she can do down the straight. There are a couple of different gearing options, so you can go ahead and actually lengthen the gears a little bit more than what I have currently installed. Where do we brake? Where do we brake? This corner is one of my favorites on the course, just because you just come in there and you're like, I'm gonna go deeper this time. And every time you feel like you can go even deeper, and then eventually you go too deep, and then you're like, nope. So let's go ahead and take her for a second lap. Well, that being said, I'll probably take her for several more laps. I just got to cut the video somewhere. Because otherwise this will be literally me just emptying the tank in the Ford GT40 here in the Assetto Corsa. Which isn't nearly as exciting as it sounds to some of you guys. Trust me. Man, do I love this car. Now, if only we had some Ferraris to go with it. Seriously. Come on. There you go, Dream Pack 3. Nothing but Ferrari GT cars. You know what? I'm not a huge Ferrari guy, but I'd be cool with it. Not gonna lie. With this corner, it's not as fast as you think in this car. Same thing with this corner. But seriously, besides the Nordschleife, go ahead and try this car out at Longford, which I had in my previous video. Sorry for the GT40 spam, I just really like this thing. Because it is fantastic there, as well as Bridgehampton, which is another historic circuit, which is just a heck of a lot of fun in this car. Get just a little too frisky with the throttle, though. The car will step out in a nice, solid, convincing fashion. And good thing this isn't a 24-hour race, because otherwise you'd be pretty much screwed at this point. But I guess at the same time, at least the engine's in good shape. Positive spin. This car with this grip setting is just so loose. Like, you can definitely tell at high speed there is basically nothing holding this car on the ground. No downforce for you. And man, the carousel is just torture. Every single time I get there, I'm just like, don't screw it up, 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 don't screw it up. That's all I can think about. Let's try third through here. Okay, nice and slow. Got to set up for the left to set up for the right. Took a bit too much. This corner can just go ahead and screw itself because I hate it. With a passion, always have, always will. Although with the gearing option I have selected, you only get to change the final drive ratio, which basically changes all of them at once. At least with the selection I made, gearing less than ideal through that section. Kind of in between second and third. Go. Nope, 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 nope. But see, that's just the miniature carousel, so when you screw that up, it's only miniature embarrassment scale. Just a couple more corners here and we'll end the video there. So I guess we better not screw up. No pressure. No pressure at all. Ah! There we go. Gotta slow it down in time. So that's that. That's the Assetto Corsa for GT40 from Dream Pack 2. Bucket load of fun. Bucket load of fun. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and run this thing dry. I'm going to cut the video there, so hope you guys enjoyed. Alright, bye.